I've been playing Rise of Kingdoms for just a couple days now, and to be honest, over my 3 weeks of playing the game, I've noticed a few things about the game itself. Some stuff about the game are really fun, whether it be the real-time fighting, all the cool commander abilities, being able to build your own mutable, and all that cool stuff. And then there's also some stuff that Rise of Kingdoms is certainly lacking in. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing 10 changes that will just make Rise of Kingdoms a much better game. So if you want to know some changes that could be coming to Rise of Kingdoms in the future, because some of these have been confirmed, or you just want to know some possible changes that the player base may want in the future, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now, let's start off today's video by just getting right into the top 10 changes, and it's going to be ordered pretty much in the least important to the most important changes, and coming in at rank 10 for probably the least important change, but still something that would make the game better, is just continuing to add KVK stories, because we know that KVKs are a really large aspect of the game. Most players play Rise of Kingdoms just to play KVK. It's really the whole point of the game, and Lilith has been doing a really good job at this. They've been adding more and more KVK stories as time goes on. You can see the absolute crazy amount of KVK stories, and just we know there are more coming in the future with upcoming updates. Some stories have just been added and haven't even been played yet, and we know there are more coming. So Rise of Kingdoms is doing really good with the KVK stories, and to be honest, KVK stories are very fun. They add something new to the game. They give open field fighting some sort of freshness, and when they're done correct and they're made in a very well manner, then we can expect that they're going to be a good story. So we know that, for example, some of the stratagems at KVK I personally played, I really enjoyed it. Warriors Unbound, a KVK I personally played, I really enjoyed it. These two types of KVK formats are probably the two better ones that they've made recently. Warriors Unbound keeps all the simple stuff, just adds one new feature. Some of the stratagems keeps the simple open field combat, and then adds a very free-to-play friendly just way to get extra buffs. So KVKs like that, which add extra buffs and free stuff you can get by just playing the game, are great KVKs, and personally adding more of those into the game will definitely make the game much more fun. Now, coming in at number 9, the next improvement that Rise of Kingdoms could definitely do with is more improvements to hospital cost, especially at lower VIP levels, because we know that the majority of Rise of Kingdoms is about fighting. I said it before about KVKs, and fighting is pretty much what KVK is. And until you reach like VIP 15, and until you reach towards the end game where you've got a lot more resources, you can't fight that much. And especially in KVK 1, 2, and 3, it's really difficult to build an account up to City Hall 25, upgrade all your buildings, train more troops, upgrade research, all of this stuff you have to do with your resources, and then also fight at the same time. So giving lower hospital costs for KVKs like 1, 2, and 3 will definitely make the game more enjoyable for the newer player base, because us endgame players, we can usually afford hospitals. We have higher VIP levels, which give us stuff like hospital speed up reductions by like 50%, more hospital capacity. VIP 16 has resource cost reductions. KVK Crystal technology also has resource cost reductions. So we're not too really impacted by these higher hospital costs. But the early game players who don't have any of these VIP levels and also have to make their way to these higher City Hall levels and upgrade all their stuff definitely are struggling. And even then, having lower hospital costs across the game will just be a good thing, because everybody wants to be fighting in KVK. And if we have high hospitals and you run out of resources and speed ups very quickly, then it kind of makes KVK boring, because you have to sit around, farm some resources so you can fight for like 5 minutes and then do it again. So having lower hospital costs will definitely be a very positive thing for the game, especially speed ups wise for early game players, because early game players, you can farm resources, you can make farm accounts, but speed ups, there's something you pretty much have to buy. And if you really want to play the game and enjoy it, you have to be able to fight. So adding some lower hospital costs in KVK 1, 2, and 3 especially would be very good. Now, coming in at rank 8 is something I've always advocated for the future, and this is adding more museum relics. Museum relics were a very good decision on Lilith's behalf. It brought back these older commanders that some players may have expertise, some players may not, and allowed them to get some new fresh breath of life. Even if it's just for like 2 to 3 commander cycles, these commanders held more use again. So adding some form of a relic for the players who do use these older commanders makes them much more enjoyable to use. And at least it's like we're not completely neglecting the older commanders. We're giving them some potential for the future. And these relics are constantly getting new tiers and new upgrades. So adding relics over time is a very good thing. And I personally am a massive advocate for them. I think that we should be getting more relics, if anything. I think for every commander release, we should get just even 1 or 2 relics. Even if it's just one for one commander, it would be a good thing, because there are commanders out there right now that definitely need relics that should be in line to get them next. So for example, a commander like Ramses is in need of a relic and is one of the next in line. So adding relics, especially based on the commanders which need them, and adding them sooner would definitely be a good thing. They may be able to use these commanders once again, and personally I think that is a great thing. Giving them some new fresh breath of life, even if it's not making them absolute meta, is definitely a very, very good thing to add to the game, and to add a little bit more balance, especially with all these very, very quick commander releases. Now, coming in at number 7 is something that has actually been confirmed by Lilith, and something that the game desperately needs. This is a graphics overhaul. This game really does start to show its age right now in terms of graphics. It was made in 2016 or something, and since then mobile gaming technology especially has come a super long way. The power in a mobile phone, the power in an iPad, even the power in other pretty much devices you can play Rise of Kingdoms on has just skyrocketed. So I think that by now, especially evident by Call of Dragons, you can definitely run some better graphics than this water or these really, really underwhelming trees, or literally no grass at all. So adding more graphics to the game will just give the game a nice fresh look, and it would obviously allow more players to pretty much start playing the game. A lot of players pretty much give up on Rise of Kingdoms when they first start playing, because they look at it and it's like, this game looks rubbish. Like, look at the graphics, they're not that amazing, since graphics do play a pretty big part in making a decision on whether or not you play a game. So personally, I think that adding more just background scenery graphics would be a good thing, but then again, they also have to balance this in a way where it doesn't make people lag, because if they make everyone start lagging because the graphics are just insane, that's not going to be a good thing. But if they make them just so they're working well and everyone's not lagging, that is going to be great. And it's been confirmed we will get new graphics in the future, so I'm quite excited to see where Lilith takes this. Hopefully it's more just like a background scenery thing, and it's not something that causes too much lag, because I think that Lilith has a lot of experience with Call of Dragons and making that whole entire map. They should have the potential to do the same thing with Rise of Kingdoms, and even then make it better so it lags even less. So I'm excited to see where these graphics overhaul go, and I hope that they do make things, just the background scenery and even stuff like a gold deposit or just a gold resource node, a little bit better, so that they are a little bit more pleasing to the eye, and maybe even then they hold some more strategic value in a way where maybe you can't walk through them, or yeah, you have to walk around them. I don't know, something that kind of changes the scenery and changes the map up a little bit would be pretty cool to see. Now, coming in at number 6 is related to VIP points especially, and this is adding more ways to acquire VIP, because currently if I list the ways to get VIP, you're pretty much going to be like, wow, that's very underwhelming. And here are the 3 ways to get VIP. First of all, you can spend money in the shop to buy bundles, which usually will give you some form of VIP points. Second of all, you can open chests in your alliance, some other people spending money in the shop to sometimes give you VIP points, and this is pretty much only going to work if you're in a bigger kingdom, because VIP points out of these chests are pretty rare. You don't get them very often, and they're not in large amounts. And then the third method is just by logging in or spending gems here. So that's actually 4 methods, my bad. So you've got 4 methods: spending gems, spending money in the shop, claiming chests from people spending money, or just logging in to get 200 VIP points a day. And really simply, you need 1 million points to reach VIP 15. I think it's somewhere near the realm of like 4.5 million to reach VIP 18. VIP points are really expensive. People need more VIP points, and it's only going to make the gap much bigger as time goes on, because I've spent a fairly large amount of money on my account, to be honest, and I'm only VIP 15. So imagine the newer players starting the game. It's like, I have like 4,000 VIP points. I need to reach like 5 million to reach the end game. I don't actually know the exact number for VIP 18, but I think it's somewhere in the realm of 4.5 million. So to be honest, VIP is something that is very good for an account. Having an account with high VIP makes a major difference. But unless you're in a super active kingdom or in a high spender kingdom, you don't get the VIP points you need. So every now and again, I think Lilith needs to push out some events which give you maybe a few VIP points, because events with VIP points would not really be that amazing for whales. Whales are buying bundles regardless. Whether or not they're VIP 18, they're going to buy those bundles. And I don't think VIP is a deciding factor for that. So if Lilith made it, so let's just throw in a random example, like the Golden Kingdom floor 20 gave you 1,000 VIP points. That would be really, really cool. And it would be just a free way to get just a few extra VIP points here and there, which would make it for newer players and newer accounts especially much easier to reach those later VIP levels without having to just stash all their gems, ignore every event and just spend it on VIP, which can be very boring. So if Lilith adds more ways to get VIP points, even if it's an alliance event, Ark of Osiris, any way to get them would be a very welcome change, because currently the ways to get VIP are super underwhelming, and VIP is definitely an important part of the game. So the more ways to get points, the better, and the more free-to-play ways, the even better. Now, the next change that I think Rise of Kingdoms desperately needs right now, and this is rank 5, is getting a way to access more resources, because currently resources are definitely important. When you want to be able to find KVK, when you want to be able to upgrade your city, when you want to heal troops, you need resources. And we all know it's no secret people are buying resources. It's just a thing right now. If you don't play the meta, you're going to lose. A lot of players are buying resources. Personally, I don't. But there are players out there, a very, very large majority of players, who either run like 20 farm accounts or they just purchase resources. It's really as simple as that. And for Lilith as a company, this is a bad thing because they want to make money off the game, and no one actually goes in the shop right now and is like, I need resources. Let me just go to the special resource bundle and buy myself the tier 5. No one's ever going to do that, and you can only buy it twice. I don't know a single person who's pretty much ever done this. So for the most part, no one buys a special resource bundle. Most people are just going to go buy the resources off another player. So why on earth would Lilith not try find a way to make people get more resources either for free or with a small monetization? So one thing I was thinking is Lilith could add some form of like a bank into your city, and this bank could give you a few million resources a day if you lock in a certain number of resources for a certain amount of time. So for example, I could put in like 200 million wood and I get like 2 million a day for 30 days, something like that. And if I spend maybe $5, I get an extra million a day for the rest of the month. And that would kind of make sense. It would be a pretty cool thing just to lock those resources in the off season. You could put a ton of resources in there, stash them up, get a bunch of resources for the start of your next KVK, and Lilith could earn some money off it as well. And even then, there could be a cap on this, so you couldn't just stash up like 60 billion resources, put them in, and get 600 million a day. That would be insane. But if Lilith made some form of a way to acquire resources, whether it be through more resources just per node, which they've done before, or whether it be through, like I said before, adding something in your city that allows you to get more resources, it would make the game much better, because they don't want resource selling, no one does, and not a lot of people have time to run like 20 farm accounts. Me personally, as a YouTuber for the game, my whole living currently is making videos on the game. I don't have a farm account for my main account because I just don't have the time. So a lot of players just don't have the time to run all those farms, whether it be out of life or commitments, because this is just a game at the end of the day. I think that having more ways to access resources, even with small costs, would be very good. And you still have to add something for free-to-play players. So like I said, that resource bank could be a good idea. Just chucking that in there, put it there, put some resources in there. At the start of the next KVK, maybe you get like 200 million total resources. It allows you to heal your hospital a few extra times and allows you to fight a little bit more. So more ways to get resources are definitely positive. And we've seen Lilith do this over time. Like I said before, they've added stuff like heavier resource deposit nodes. So we've had level 9 nodes now. We know nodes can hold more resources, because when I started, a level 5 node was like 750,000. Now it's like 925,000. So Lilith is not shy to adding more resources. But I think there's other ways they could add resources to limit farm accounts, not even saying they should be a bad thing, but make it so they're not necessary, and B, not make players have to buy resources from other players, because that kind of defeats the purpose of the game, and also it's against their terms of service. So if Lilith wants players to play fairly, they need to make it so that you can play fairly and still enjoy the game with a respect to your time, because people don't have time, like I said, to play 25 farm accounts. Now, the change at rank 4, which Rise of Kingdoms would definitely benefit from, is more game modes that allow some form of fighting, because like I've said, Rise of Kingdoms is a fighting game, and I'm always going to repeat that, because it's just what the game is for. You build up resources, you build up troops, you kill them to win a fight. It's really as simple as that. And to be honest, I think that one form of fighting they could add, because most players are fighting for KVK, is more fighting like Ark of Osiris, a game mode where you don't lose any of your troops, but it's still based on your account. You still get to use your commanders. Your city still plays a role. You still get to use rallies. You still get to garrison. Things like that are really, really important for the game. And even if it's just like a leisure game mode where people can go in and just mess around with troops and commanders, it would be a fun thing. So I think that some form of even just like a battle royale map where you go in there and everyone's just fighting to the death for no reason would be something that could be cool. And even if it just gives very small rewards, like 6 hours of speed up, something random would just be a good pastime on the game. Because if people actually want to play Rise of Kingdoms, they're either here to gather resources and fight barbarians, or they're here to fight players. And most players are here to fight players So adding some form of a game mode that comes around maybe once a week like Champions of Olympia, but is more like a battle royale mode could be cool, or some other way of fighting that utilizes your commanders, utilizes your equipment and your cities, and is like real open field fighting is what I think players really want, more than stuff like improving Olympia or adding more forms of Ark of Osiris. They want real fighting with their accounts like Ark of Osiris, but A, in a shorter time frame, and B, less specific. Because yes, I really enjoy Ark. I'm not saying that should be changed at all, but I think that adding some other form of a game mode where it's like if you're missing out, it's not that bad, but it is still a fun thing to do would be a good idea. So adding these game modes which are more fighting and allow you to use your accounts and utilize your commanders and troops that you've built up are very cool. And even then, it could be stuff like using the troops that are also dead. So stuff like Expedition. If you go into Expedition, you'll notice even troops that you've killed, you can use in the Expedition. So allowing players to do that in this game mode could be a cool thing and would be a nice fun pastime, or even just an extra event that they could add every now and again. Now, coming in at third place for one of the most important changes that I think Rise of Kingdoms needs to add, this is making commanders a little bit more equal. Of course, there's still going to be a standout best commander at a time frame, but I think making commanders more equal, making some slightly better than others, and not too far ahead would be good for the game, because players still want to be able to use the older commanders they invest in. I really, for example, like my Cyrus, but he's falling out of the meta. I like my Nebu, but he's falling out of the meta. And a lot of players have this issue. They've got like 10 legendary commanders they can't use and only 6 that they can. So making commanders more equal, this could be through more relics like I said before, or just making commanders have better stats or some way to counter more meta commanders would be a good thing. So making more equal commanders as time goes on, at least giving older commanders more revitalization, or like I said, just making commanders so they last longer, would be a good thing. And this ties in with my rank 2 of just releasing less commanders. Rise of Kingdoms right now is sending commanders out like it's going out of fashion. Every single update we seem to be getting some meta breaking commander, something absolutely insane that you have to invest in, and it's just kind of crazy. Usually before this, before like pretty much Nevsky released, we saw 1 or 2 commanders every now and again that were really good, and then the rest were decent or there were slight upgrades, and some were even just pretty bad. So I think that Lilith adding less commanders, or at least making some commander releases not as game breaking and not as must invest, would be a good thing. So rank 3 and 2 kind of tie in. Make those commanders more balanced and release less commanders to make sure the meta is not being completely destroyed every single time. Because right now, Lao Che is dominating the meta, but by the time Herman Prime releases, I reckon he's going to dominate the meta, and then the next Cavs will dominate the meta, and then the next infantry, and it's just this pretty much toxic cycle of one troop really dominating and the rest being worse, and then another troop takes over, and then the rest become worse, and there's always one troop that's at the bottom. So for now, archers are at the bottom, but after Herman Prime releases, Cavs might be at the bottom, and then after the new Cavs release, infantry will be at the bottom, and then after the new infantry release, archers will be at the bottom, and it's always this really pretty much bad cycle that a lot of players aren't enjoying. So hopefully making these commanders a little bit more balanced, A, when they release, or B, at least just making those older commanders a little bit more powerful in the open field could help solve this cycle. Now, coming in at rank 1, in my opinion, the most important thing that Lilith should be adding to Rise of Kingdoms, and something they haven't done in a very long time, is just adding more unique events in the off-season of KVK, because when you're in off-season, which is honestly probably longer than when you're in KVK, you want to be able to still play the game. You don't want to just like not play the game at all. And Lilith adding more events, especially just related to the off-season, would be a good thing. So I think that Lilith adding more events in the off-season would make the game way more enjoyable. I can attest to it personally. I am not the biggest fan of the game when it's the off-season. I really just log in, I kill barbs, I send gatherers, I get off, and I don't log in pretty much for the rest of the day. But the reason that's the case is because all the events are just repetitive. Playing the game for over 1,000 days now pretty much. Well, not over 1,000, but almost close to over 1,000 days. I am just like, wow, I've seen this event 20 times. I've seen this event 15 times. Oh, I remember doing this about 64 times. Nothing has changed since. And adding new events would just be a new, fresh thing to the game. Like, to be honest, I've seen the Golden Kingdom like 17 times, 20 times, 100 times. I don't even know right now. And even though they've revitalized it, it's pretty much just the same stuff reskinned. So adding new events that are unique, even though they could be slightly different or even slightly similar to old events, would at least be cool. And whenever Lilith adds new events, it's just for a season and then they disappear. So making some events a little bit more permanent and phasing out older events like Golden Kingdom, making them less often with new events that give the same rewards, could be a good thing. So we know that there was an event once where like you got to control some commanders and attack a fortress of barbarians. that was a cool event. They only ever did it once and then they never did it again. So having stuff like that where they're slightly challenging, maybe they're like a unique challenge every week that gives you some rewards that you can try figure out and people can make videos on, or people can just play them in general and figure out how to do them, would be a cool thing. So adding more events with stuff that give you not even just extra rewards, but just the same rewards in a new way could be a cool thing. So like I said, that game mode where maybe you fight that barbarian 4 inside like a whole separate map would be a cool thing for this Mighty Army event. Instead of just kill barbarians and train troops, which we've seen 150,000 times, adding a new map where you kill some barbs, or you do like a small challenge, or there's a small thing you have to attack, would be very, very cool. And having some strategy involved would also be pretty cool. So making more events which give decent rewards or the same rewards as other events would be a good thing and would definitely make the game way more enjoyable, because I think the most boring thing currently is how boring events are. Out of everything in the game that's really lacking the most, it's the events. We look at events, they're boring. Seen this one before, seen this one before. Guess what? Mightiest Governor, seen that before. Cerulean Crisis, seen it before. Oh, the France civilization, I think I've cycled through every civilization like 10 times now. So events just really are not very fun, especially after the first like 5 months of playing the game. You're like, I've seen this, oh, I've seen that. Guess what? I've seen every season event by now. I don't think Lilith really adds new season events. Esmeralda's Prayer, I think I've seen it like 4 to 5 times now. Everything is pretty much just a repeat. So adding more events to the game will definitely make the game a lot more enjoyable, and I think a lot of players can agree with me on this. The more events, the better, and the more unique those events are, the even better. So now that's the end of my video on what Rise of Kingdoms really needs in the future, and I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? I always ask this at a video where I push my opinion out there. I want to hear the community's opinion as well. So do you guys think that Rise of Kingdoms needs more changes, or do you think that the game is pretty much in a really good spot right now? Or do you just agree with most of the stuff I said? Let me know in the comments down below. I respond to every single comment. Make sure it's a separate thread though, otherwise I can't see them unless I go into the video. So send your own comments down there. I like to read them. I like to check out your opinions. I even include some of them in my following videos. So if your idea is really cool, you might even get a pinned comment. So just comment down below, what do you think? Do you think the video ideas were cool? Do you think that the game is fine and doesn't need them? Or do you have another idea that the game could get in the future to make it much better? So let me know in the comments. I read everyone, I reply to them all, and I also appreciate them very much. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.